Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today for another episode of the Leadership for the Now. My name is Florian Lungu, and I'm so delighted to be with you today. And today I'm joined by a wonderful guest, Matthias Garhed. He's not only the author of the book Mindexpand and a mental trainer and expert in the area, but he also works with leadership development at the Swedish Police Authority. Welcome, Matthias.
Thank you for inviting me here. It's very exciting to be here.
Absolutely. Great to have you. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do for everyone that is watching right now.
Yeah, thank you. That's not an easy question to respond to, but what I do is I make people grow. That's my mindset. That's my goal, and create circumstances for people to maximize their personal growth and their personal development. Is very due to my main purpose with challenges and development and protect and serve in different areas. Yeah.
Oh, wow, absolutely. So your specialty is actually around mental training and preparation, right? And you also wrote a book on that. Can you tell us a little bit more about that part of your business and also kind of how you become passionate about that?
Yeah, and I have to go back for decades. I've always had this natural interest in maximum performance and challenges and see the limits and cross the limits. And every time, and I've been very interested in psychology and the mental inner game, mental preparation. So I studied in the behavioral sciences a long time ago, and then joined the police force. And I've been training a lot of police officers in mental tactics and mental preparation in that area. And a few years ago, I educated myself to a licensed mental trainer, and that was a 2-year course and very much deep inner work for myself. And I wanted to share my experiences. Is that mental training? It's kind of abstract and it's quite difficult to enhance. And what shall I do in action? What shall I do? So I decided to. I've been reading a lot of books, and I've been training a lot of mental training and physical training and preparation in different areas. And I wanted to share my view of best practice in a form of handbook. So my purpose and my goal was to make it accessible, make it easy, as easy as possible. So I wrote this book, and it came in 2020. Mindexpand. I think it's it was the very best I could do at the moment, and it's a great intro to get yourself going and get a little bit better in what you want to improve.
All right, thank you. So that is available in Swedish right now.
Yes,
Is that right? Yeah, perfect. So there will be a link in the comments with a link directly if you want to copy of that book, because I truly believe that as leaders, until we kind of master the inner game, we're not able to lead our teams, right? And especially, I mean, you working with the police forces, the work that you do and your colleagues do, it's so important for the society. And sometimes as leaders, we don't see ourselves as we need to be better at our, mastering the inner game. But what would you say would be some challenges that leaders face today where they really need to get better at the inner game?
Yeah, I can just fall back to the book. It's in Swedish, but my coaching and my speeches, I got a side hustle in Mindexpand. So I do these speeches and coaching and team coaching and mastermind groups and different aspects. And back to your question, the inner game, I think people on average, everyone has pressure on themselves. We have pressure. It's the inner pressure, outer pressure, but we have pressure. And the challenge, as I see it, this pressure is a kind of energy, and we can work with transform this energy to get something good out of it. It can break us down, it can kill us in the worst case, but it can also make us elevate and progress. And it's both, I think, difficult and easy to start the journey for improvement. And I also always come back to us the mental game is not about perfection, it's about process. And can I improve just one single percent today, right now, every day? And the compound effect in the long run, it's amazing.
Wow. So it's about the process, not perfection.
Yeah, I always have to come back to that because many people I coach, and many clients are high achievers and sometimes extreme high achievers, and I have also a lot of energy and want to achieve a lot, and I have to all often I have to make this process goal. I have to make it smaller. And when they think they have a process goal, I see it's still quite large, big, and take very small step in the beginning and to get this compound effect. Because it's like if you go to the gym, you start physical training, you train every day for 2 hours, and you last for 3 or 4 days, and then you're exhausted. It's the same thing with mental training and to reshape and rebuild your inner strength. It's the same thing. So make it small in the beginning, progress in process, and the compound effect comes as a consequence.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so good. So start small and then, gradually improve and build. So what would you say now? What would be some things that you could share with leaders watching right now that deal with, the unexpected? Like we have different kind of, we had COVID, now we have another geopolitical crisis here. So I know you have a way that you work with scenarios. Can you share a little bit about that? Because I think it will be useful for our listeners here and our viewers.
Yeah, so that's a challenge for me to make easable concepts for mental preparation in different areas. And I've shared a few uh, short video clips on my Instagram. I'm more active in my Instagram in this side hustle in mental training. And I think one thing is in mental preparation, we use, if you, for example, has to prepare for a presentation,
Mm-hmm.
and we can split it in three parts. In we begin with the worst case scenario. What's the worst that can happen in this moment? I always talk about the worst case scenario. I think it's very important to do that, and we can work with this in a mind map or a checklist. Just write it down. But what's the worst thing that can happen during a presentation? The technical failure, PowerPoint breaks down, difficult questions, and for every problem there is a solution. Just write it down, and you don't have to make hundreds of preparations, but a few, I think. And then you make the mental preparation for the most probable outcome, more like an ordinary preparation. But I think we sometimes fail at the normal preparation, and it's your responsibility to be prepared when you steal the audience's time. So
Yeah,
come
absolutely.
prepared. That's very important, and we don't always do that. But be very prepared for the most probable outcome of this presentation, for example. And also I also always say prepare for the best possible outcome as well. You don't have to prepare as much for it, but when you have a presentation in front of people, sometimes this boost of energy appears, and you go into this flow, and it just happens, and this bubble of energy, um, and use that one in the mental training and mental preparation, this mental image, and shape your inner state and get that energy boost and prepare, step up in front of when you're going on stage, going live in this presentation, and it enhances this possibility for this to happen. And
Wow.
whatever happens, in your back of your head, you have a plan. You
Yeah.
have your plan if something else happens.
Wow, that's so good. So you plan for the worst, you plan for the most probable, and you plan for the best, right? And the whole idea is for us not to go too much into playing the negative scenarios, because then we get discouraged and we don't even do the presentation. But at least that we are prepared, right? So as you just mentioned, things like, what if the PowerPoint doesn't work? What if the live stream doesn't work? What if this breaks? And then how can we apply that? We just kind of export this and apply it to different areas of our lives. So when you go on, sorry.
I think that's very important. This we don't want to get stuck in the negativity, because our brains are wired in this negativity bias. It's very important to prepare for the worst, but don't get stuck in there, because and I see that sometimes clients that are using mental preparation, mental training in the wrong direction. They're doing the negative visualization, that they're just digging a deeper grave. So just do the mental preparation and then focus on the best possible outcome.
Absolutely, that's a really good point there, because we are surrounded with so much negativity. It's very easy for us to think that things are gonna get worse and worse and worse, and it's no surprise then if we only think those things, and if we only consider the worst case scenario, it's no surprise that that's what is going to happen. So you're making such a good point there. So now, when you work with leaders, when we work with high achievers, what would be some of the things, like if they really take this seriously and they get really good at mastering the inner game, what would be some opportunities that they have? Like if we'll be, all of us will be getting better at being mentally prepared, what kind of opportunities will open for us, which maybe we don't access otherwise because we're not in there?
That's a very good question. Our brains are very limited. The consciousness is a bottleneck, and the cognitive load will break us down very quickly. So we have to sharpen the axe in different areas. And if many clients comes to me when in a reactive phase to work with the stress coping strategies, and that's okay. Everything is okay, but it's quite difficult and it takes time. And I always say use mental preparation, stress coping in a proactive way to get in front. And if you get more, use time management skills, get a structure, evaluate yourself, do your mental preparation, work with meditation, sleep, mental deep sleep hypnosis to get the recovery. It's very, very important. And some high achiever works with mental training to work even harder, but I say work smarter instead. And if you can use some of these techniques I write in the book, you can halve your work time. What if you can show the same results in 6 hours, 4 hours, 2 hours at a working day with different techniques? Then you get very much free time to you can look in the future, make strategic choices, learn for yourself, make yourself stronger, work with the physical training and so on.
Wow, that's so important. And I see the value and the power of visualization, especially when it comes to sales or important meetings. Like, just when I have an important presentation the night before, I almost kind of run all that presentation into my mind while I'm asleep. So it's kind of my subconscious mind is running the script, and it's like knowing what to say. Because as you say, our conscious mind is not able to process as much information as we will want. And I'm not able now to speak with you and also pay attention to the chat and all this. I cannot multitask. And so many times we think that we can multitask. So if we're able to just pass on some of that to our subconscious mind by visualizing the ideal outcome that we want, by seeing how the client is going to say yes, by seeing how the audience is going to cheer us up and clap, that's what we're actually creating. We're creating that experience. So that's so important. Can you give us just a simple, easy step that we could apply when it comes to becoming more productive? Because I'm quite intrigued when you say that I can achieve what I would achieve in a day in maybe 4 hours or 2 hours. And so give us just maybe one little strategy that we could apply right away.
I have to catch the hook there in working with the sleep. That's a very efficient way. And if you do your mental preparation in advance, your subconscious mind will process this during the sleep in a good way. And be
Mm.
aware what you tell yourself because your brain is listening. So tell yourself, I want to wake up with this solution to this problem. I want to wake up with a good feeling. But now I'm going to sleep really, really tight and wake up recovered. That's a very easy and it's a tool that works with some training. So that's a very good idea. And back to the question, I think the power of visualization, get your visions clear. Always go back to your purpose, find your why, work with your why, why you are doing what you're doing, because I found some clients want help with find motivation to set goals, but when we look at it, I don't think they're working with the right thing for them. So
Mm.
find your purpose always. Get your vision straight, and the vision is much a direction, and the vision, maybe you will never reach for the moon, but you set this intention long in front of you as possible, and make some clear goals and goals, process goals, in and make a plan, and that's where I come in, and I always make a plan together with my clients, and that's
Mm-hmm.
the power in that.
Absolutely. So I can see how now, having a clear direction and clear vision helps us to prioritize our day and actually focus on the important things rather than being distracted in different directions. So then, what would you say now to someone that is skeptical to mental training? Will say, well, this thing, I don't understand it because I don't understanding, and it's not for me. So what would you say to that person?
I think I always push for the growth mindset and curiosity and test and evaluate. And when we talk about mental preparation, everyone has a plan. Everyone has some kind of strategy for mental preparation and so on. And I don't question that. But what I do and what we do is to improve it, sharpen it, and be curious and test it. But if you don't want it, don't take it. That's as simple as that. I think if you're not accessible for it, you're not curious, then leave it. But the few percent that works with it, they show maximum results.
Wow, that's so good. That's so good. So I'm gonna go into a little bit more of a personal question here. So can you share a little bit about what was the best leadership advice you ever got, and how did that help you, and maybe who was that advice from?
It's kind of a tricky question. When it comes to leadership, I think it's very common with new theories, new books, new concepts. But I always think I'm reading a lot, and I think the conventional wisdom has to get it set it straight before. And I always come back to this basic lead by example and walk the walk, walk the talk. This kind, and I think um, one of my recent books I read was about Jim Mattis, former Marine Corps command, called Sun Chaos, and he was, as I experienced the book, he was, and something that's connect to me. I always say, be the best version of yourself, both in the gym and in the library. It's just different areas. You're not either a theoretical or a practitioner. You're both, and always strive for improvement. And I think, and by leading by example, I always want to come back to process goals, because you are authentic leader when you lead by your example with your struggles when you're failing forward. Um,
Mm.
because I'm falling all the time. I say I'm failing forward, and if you don't fail, you don't push yourself enough outside your comfort zone to the stretch zone where the magic happens. So it's in a growth mindset. It's okay for failures, short failures. Learn, evaluate, learn, and move on. I think it's very important, and leadership is about process and not perfection. And I think it's an authenticity in this, leading by example and failing forward.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I can see that, and it's probably no other way for us to be able to lead anyone if we don't lead by example. I mean, who wants to follow someone that just points toward the direction? John Maxwell, my mentor and the founder of our organization, he shares that, don't aim to be a tourist kind of operator, like you send people where you've never been, right? Be as a guide, right? You take people where you have been before. So this is how our kind of, self-leadership and walking the talk comes into play. I cannot ask you to do things that I never done, because you're going to be pointing back at me. So tell us a little bit about how do you help people that want to get better, like, how they can work with you.
Yeah, and back to this self-leadership, because that's what I see lacking in many people. Self-leadership.
Yeah.
It's not even if you're a leader or a specialist in other ways. And I like the definition of leader. Everyone is a leader in some way. You're leading your tribe, your peers, your team. You have a leading part. You don't have to be manager for leading.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, will you
Absolutely.
repeat your question?
Sure, absolutely. So how can someone work with you? Like, how would you, they can get on a call with you. They like, how do you work with people when you help them to get better at the mental preparation part?
I don't see that there's one size fits all. We have to take a talk. We have to. I'm working very intuitive in a flow state, and I have to listen, and it's an interaction. It takes two to tango, and everyone
Sure.
is very different. So we have to get in touch. We have to start talking about and try to find the point where we will starting point. And I think if it's okay, I'm improvising a little here, but
Sure.
if everyone is if someone is interested, they can send me a direct message here on LinkedIn, and we can take a 15-minute or so introduction to Mindexpand, and we see if we can work together and what I can offer in some way, or we can
Absolutely.
just have a coffee and a good talk. I love networking; it's very exciting. So that's an offer.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for that. So you have Matthias, you can find his contact details, like his profile here in the chat. So just go and maybe connect with Matthias if you're not connected already, and just send a direct message and jump on that call, right? At least you know if this is for you or not. So, a question that we usually ask all of our guests is, what does leadership for the now, for today means for you?
For me, definitely possible some confirmation bias here, but leadership for me is about self-leadership and to constant striving, some Kaizen, always work with yourself in some way to small improvements. The compound effect of small daily steps, it's amazing. So leadership for me is about self-leadership.
Wow, that's so good. And I think we need so much of the self leadership in today's world, because so many times we look up for solutions at our leaders or maybe politicians or authorities. And I believe in some of our Western European countries, we don't take enough personal ownership for our results. And we don't, I think we probably need more of that. So I love this answer. So again, for everyone watching, get Matthias' book, Mindexpand. There is a link in the comments. It's available in Swedish, and get in touch with Matthias for a one-on-one call. So thank you so much for joining us today, Matthias. It was lovely hearing about your work and got some tips from you on mental preparation. And for everyone watching, I look forward to see you next week. Thank you, Matthias.
Thank you, Florian.
You're welcome, and I'll see you guys next week.